All set to go.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Was this the study where we would watch a video and then? Okay.
Yeah.
I think I would actually participate, but okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, so think about questions as you go, and then feel free to ask those for the end. Yeah.
Okay, so like Jake said, I'm Andi,
I'm Susie.
and we're doing independent studies with him this semester. And how many of you, I'm sure all of you have heard of Rate My Professors, show of hands. How many of you like use it to, before every semester, to look at like which teachers you want to take and stuff like that? So we really wanted to focus on how like the reviews and the student comments and everything like that affects learning. And like if a teacher has horrible reviews, like you probably want to plan your entire schedule around not having to take that teacher. So this is our teacher, Chris Emerson, and if these were her reviews, how many of you would take her class? Pretty crappy.
You're on a 5.
Well,
right?
easiness, that was pretty nice.
Yeah, so easiness is high, but everything else is pretty low. And then her comments are, so these are like from the actual like students. I've never been so disappointed. I didn't learn anything, fell asleep, didn't want to be there. Her lectures were worthless. The professor taught me nothing. So us being students, we really value what other students say about teachers, especially if they've already had them. And so this is, so like if I tell Susie like, oh, this was a horrible professor, it's word of mouth communication, they call it WOMCOM. And so we wanted to, actually really just wanted to use that word. But computer mediated word of mouth is basically this. It's like through the computer. This is also seen through other things like Amazon and like Glassdoor and stuff like that. So it's a really important topic to be studying and how it affects how we think and how we make our decisions. So our IV was teacher rebuttals, which will be talked about a little bit more later, and the DD was learning outcomes.
So I don't know if you guys have seen our Rate My Professor, but there is a new section. It's called Professor Strike Back, which is pretty much what we really emphasized and studied. So for years, Rate My Professor has been kind of like a bashing place for students who have had fairly negative experiences to write about a teacher. I know people are most likely, from what I've seen, to rate if they've had a bad professor rather than write the good things about one. So the teacher rebuttal portion of it is a chance for teachers to, say what their story is and defend themselves. So the first one we had in our study was based on competence. And it says, I've been teaching for 13 years and I've received several Excellence in Teaching Awards. I conduct workshops to prepare new teachers in my fields of expertise. I'm actively involved in research and I've recently published a book that has been highly regarded by my colleagues. In our opinion, teachers at a certain point, if you're a teacher at a college level, you already have competence, whether or not you're able to teach it to others or not. We know that you have at least achieved a certain level of intelligence and work competence. So the next one we talked about was trustworthiness. And we define trustworthiness as kind of sticking to what's on the syllabus. You know from the beginning of the semester what's expected, and assuming you follow what's expected, you'll receive the grade you deserve. And straightforward, you know what kind of work gives you what grade. And so for the teacher rebuttal for this one, for trustworthiness, we said, I believe in being very straightforward and direct with my teaching. I work with students in a fair manner. I treat all my students based on the criteria I have laid out for the class. I know that my students can always expect that I adhere and follow through with what I say during the class. Finally, our third one was caring. So especially at a college or university, I've experienced myself, I know it's really hard to just get kind of thrown in with the mix and not really get noticed on campus. And from my experience, and I know from others, it's really rewarding when there's a teacher you've had before who knows your name, knows what you're interested in, and maybe knows your career goals and will go out of their way to help you. That even goes along with like just quickly answering emails or offering to stay, not like just beyond office hours, like working with you. So the teacher rebuttal for caring would be, I have a high concern for my students' success in my class. I am very much student-oriented, and I often think about what matters to the students the most and prepare my course based on their needs. I put the needs of the students first. I will accommodate myself to be available and help students. And we took these 3 levels based on the literature review we did. So the first article we read is by Hunter et al. It's based on competence. So we discussed the difference between intellectual competence and professional competence. And it kind of goes along with, the phrase like those who can do, like can't always teach. So we use the example of a soccer player versus soccer coach. You might be the best soccer player on your team, and you might have the skills to do really well in that. However, explaining it to others is a different level. And I know I've had some professors who are really experienced, have gone to amazing schools, have all these high degrees, and then in a classroom, there's just like a disconnect between them and the students. The next article we read was based on trustworthiness, which was by Krebs, Kedstar, and Kuchenmelk. They believed, and we also believe, it was important for teachers to have a high understanding of what they expect from students, and to students to reciprocate that understanding. It's important for everyone to be on the same page. So in their study, teachers with the highest ratings were the most straightforward and consistent. So what they agree to sticking with at the beginning of the semester is the same at the end of the semester. There's no surprise test or something's graded unfairly and different things like that, which could certainly throw you off. And then finally, the study by Smith and Schmidt regarding caring. Their study expressed that favorite teachers are often the most caring. So ones that express interest in students' lives, offer encouragement and support, making students feel valuable. These are also probably the teachers you'll go to for recommendations, career advice, just like a friendly face on campus. So definitely a caring instructor is something that's really important.
So based on all 3 of those elements, we wanted to try and give all of the possible outcomes a certain weighted ranking. So what we did is the zeros mean that it was absent. Really back up. So in the survey, the randomized rebuttals either included competence, caring, or trustworthiness, and it was every possible outcome. So these are all the possible outcomes that you could have. And Susie and I predicted that the teacher rebuttal that stated the caring and trustworthiness would elicit the most learning. So we gave that one an 8, and then from there we said that the teacher rebuttal that had the competence, caring, and trustworthiness would be the second highest. And so you can kind of see how we went down from there. And then the 2 that have number 5, we thought that they would be the same learning outcomes. And then everything that just had one statement obviously got the lowest. But we just kind of wanted to know how you guys would rank these and what you guys would find most important in a teacher, as far as competence, caring, and trustworthiness. Anybody?
Has anyone had experience where maybe their teacher was definitely competent, but just they wasn't there as far as?
At a university level, I would have expected some of my professors to have experience as professors first, because I had a bio teacher when I was in health science, and she did chemical research and stuff, but she had no idea how to explain Gen Chem, and it was just very frustrating. She's smart, but she's not to people. So maybe then having an experience at the university level first, or at least at a JUCO or something, so that it's not the first teaching gig.
Yeah,
So
and
we
the
are
other thing
paying a lot
too
of
is
money,
that
especially for a private college. Just I think a lot of the issues is the adjunct teachers or new teachers. I mean, it's not anything against them, but we are paying a lot of money, and you expect to have a good professor for our tuition that we're paying.
Yeah, because I don't want to get Ramirez, we had him, and it's just having a professor at the state school level who just wasn't used to our type of questioning, or I don't know, we actually cared about the class, care about going. I don't know, just having them be on the same page.
Yeah, the other thing that Susie and I, because we talked about this with Jake a lot too, is that because we were all trying to come up with these together, and we had to kind of explain to Jake that like, at like coming into college, you expect like, okay, they have like a high degree, and Jake was like, well, like a lot of teachers and professors, like some of them don't do research, and like that's really important. And Susan like, oh, like we didn't even know that, or like you know, if they're, like what they're working on outside of teaching.
Yeah.
For me, it's like not really that important. So not that it's not important, but we don't know about it as much, and so we just kind of, I think we come into a college or like a university just expecting that like the professors have a certain level of competence, and then whatever they have above like that baseline level is awesome. But yeah, that's why we thought that the rebuttal statement with the caring and the trustworthiness would be more beneficial than saying like all the research that you're doing, or like how many books you've written and like academic conferences you've like attended in one words and stuff. So that was kind of our thinking.
Yeah, something too with like, I think goes along with trustworthiness versus competence, is, you know, if you're teaching a class, we understand that you understand it. However, like, I appreciate a teacher who can go beyond the competence and can like think outside of the box. So if a teacher questions me on something, I want to know that I can question them back.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it might stray away from what's written down, but they can we can like ebb and flow off each other based on that. So for our study, some of you I know did it. Our sampling strategy was Chapman University students, obviously. Approximately 320 students is what we're hoping for. Right now we have about a little more than a third of that, so we are on our way. We wanted 40 students per condition, and we had 8 conditions, so which is why we got a 320 student number. And for most classes, students will be offered extra credit for upon completion, or they'll get credit for the comp studies, or I don't know if there's an SEC pool or if it's the same one, but
Yeah.
okay. And then once we have all our data, our analysis plan will be a factorial ANOVA, which I don't know if you guys have done that in research methods. Okay, so not too easy, but we'll attempt it. And then our survey consisted of, for those of you who haven't seen it, a consent form. Just the rule is kind of following the IRB protocol. You do have to give a consent form. The teacher comments and the teacher rebuttal, which was the credibility statements we showed. We have the students watch a video, which was Chris Emerson's lecture. There was a 5-question quiz based off what she said in the lecture. So those survey questions were to measure learning outcomes. So basically what we predicted is, you know, if a teacher is really competent or really caring and trustworthy, you might eventually learn more from them. And it's kind of hard to tell in just a 5-question quiz, but I know like, if I have a teacher who I know really cares about me, will go out of their way for me, I believe what they're saying, I'm going to attend their class more. I'm going to listen while I'm attending, and I'm more likely to remember what they say because I believe that they know what they're talking about.
Okay, so this is our conclusion, just kind of, we wanted to do like a discussion portion. So being that Rate My Professor, and just, I mean, even like Amazon and everything like that too, is like I have no idea who the people are that are writing comments. Are we too trusting of fellow students? Like, I know that there's some professors, even like at Chapman, like you go on there and you read the reviews and they're just absolutely horrible, and like you don't want to take their class. But are we too trusting of the people that are writing on these websites versus doing it, like going and experiencing the class for ourselves and not like kind of having a blank slate? Yeah.
I think it's definitely a balance. I think that the people who are writing comments on sites like Rate My Professor or Yelp or Amazon or whatnot are the ones that have the strongest opinions about it. So it definitely skews the data in terms of you're not getting a full, you know, range of answers. You're just getting the extremes on either end. So
Yeah, and I think that for me, like I know, like reading it, I'm like, okay, it's either the people that like loved their professors or the people that hated them. But I always give more weight to the people that hated their professors versus like, oh yeah, like there's a lot, like there's a good teacher. Like I'm looking for the ones like I don't want to take.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe it's just me.
I mean, for me, I mean, yeah, I think we are a little bit too trusting sometimes, but at the same time, like, that's the reason why there's just like an aggregate level on there, because there's so many people that actually comment or will comment sometimes on those. So yeah, I should contrast both the two, and kind of like, when I go through, I look at almost every comment, we'll see like how, like, what differed, what they said.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously one person had a really bad experience while someone else has a really good experience, so kind of have to contrast all of them together.
Yeah. Did you want to?
That's fine.
Okay. And then so how do you guys think that, I mean, especially like for teachers, like how they could get rid of existing negativity through using the rebuttals or like the professor feedback section? Like, would you guys look at the professor feedback to even see what they had to say, or? I
What
don't
the
know.
professor rebuttal was?
Yeah, so there's like the
No.
student comments, and then there's a tab next to it that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
But it
I
says
don't-
professor feedback, and that's what we're trying to find out is like, if they utilized it using like either their competence, trustworthiness, or caring, like would it even make a difference to students?
I don't believe so.
I feel like telling a student that you've worked for 20 years doesn't mean that you're a good professor. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you guys said they could be good at research or they could be good at whatever, but they're not good at actually teaching it, you know? So I was gonna.
So, but what if a teacher has like a bunch of negative reviews and then comes back and either like addresses like the specific points or just like, oh, like, you know, I'm just like misunderstood, but I really care about my students, would that make a
That could
difference
just be like
too?
them trying to like bait kids to like take their
Take
class.
their class,
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think it's, yeah, that, but I think it's kind of both like students bashing on the teacher and the teacher kind of just having to defend themselves. And I don't know, I kind of take it all with a grain of salt because it's kind of, like, the people that leave comments, it's usually extremes at both ends. You can hardly ever see one that's like, this was a good class, I like this, but I didn't like this. It's always
Yeah.
just like, this was wonderful, or I hated this person. So,
Yeah.
like, even half the reviews on Rate My Professor aren't even helpful per se, because they're so extreme.
Yeah.
I look at it before every semester.
Yeah, and they even, and you have, that's true, like, take it with a grain of salt, because even like, some professors on their page, comments will be like, oh, this professor sucks, like, he makes you come to class every day, and like,
Oh, no.
I mean, you know what I mean, like, if you're really gonna like not take you to class because the professor makes you show up, then like, that may be a personal problem, rather than like a university problem.
Did you have
I
something?
think actions speak louder than words, and so
Yeah.
I think that they should take these reviews and put more action to it, and then when they increase their positive reviews after negative ones, then that shows like their
That's a
action.
great point.
So going off Kyle's point, I like that. So a good rebuttal message might not be, here's why I'm so awesome. It may be, thank you for this feedback, here's the steps I've done to address them now. So you sort of put the negative, right, history temporally as something that's happened in the past, and now you may have a blank slate. But it's kind of interesting because I also want to go with what Gunnar said earlier, like when these are very extreme, a lot of them are, and there's actually very big studies that show that RateMyProfessor.com ratings actually have very good validity. And it actually corresponds to student evaluation of teachers, SET, the actual ratings you leave at the end of every semester. It correlates very well. Surprisingly, the correlation is at 0.6. So it makes, and now with the smaller case numbers, like if you have 4 comments, right, that's different. So it may be the other thing that happens is when teachers do write back, it stimulates students to actually think hard about all the type of messages on there, and it may lead them to discount sort of these extremities and think about the actual issue. So those are different perspectives. But yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Just so you guys know, like if you happen to see this on Rate My Professor, I think the Professor Strikes Back version is fairly new. And what they do, which we thought writing strategies would be better, because right now it's actual videos. It's kind of just like webcam videos.
I'm not sure if that was like serious or not.
I don't, those are the only ones I saw. Those are the only ones I saw so
I
far.
don't know.
But a lot of them were like webcam videos of the professor like kind of mocking what their students had written about them before.
They were like a little crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Wouldn't it be better for a professor, instead of trying to, like, in the professor comment section or whatever you want to call it, to just like put fake comments about their own themselves.
Okay,
no,
it's
you
easier
can't-
said than done.
Yeah, because we,
You try.
Well, no, I'm just curious, because like if I was a professor and I saw people bashing on me, I'd be like, screw you students, I'm gonna save my ass.
That's exactly what I said too, I was like, I would
You
just write
can't-
amazing things
yeah,
about myself.
it's actually the way it's set up is, you have to like register and like, because we even tried to make like, well, are you, any of you, they can't take the survey now anyways, right? 'Cause-
I mean, yeah, it's fine. They won't take it anymore. It's already been up for a while. They have,
Okay.
I give them something else, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, so we like created like that Chris Emerson page that you guys saw is like completely fake because we tried creating an actual account and we couldn't because you have to have like share your like credentials that you're like an actual like teacher and stuff and so like Jake and I went in and we like just changed the computer code on some random person's profile. But yeah, it's really hard to like leave your own comments and like you have to be like they like it's
You
really
guys
like
hacked the
valid.
website? It's not-
No, we saved the code for the page,
Pretty
the
much it's
HTML,
all
and then
made
we
up
changed
now.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's all
So
made
think
up,
how
like,
much you can do, knowing this, like,
I feel like a hacker.
yeah.
What was I just saying, like, people do that, like, companies that about product reviews, they'll go online and
Yeah,
Pay for
review their
dogs.
own
yeah.
products positively to.
It actually, this system actually does a very good check of that, because
It
it asks you
does,
for
yeah.
email, it doesn't let you do duplicates, it verifies if those classes are on, so it has a good checking system at the professor end and at the comments end. Like, I can't just put, it's very hard for me to put fake comments, it's also very hard for students to pretend they're a
Okay.
teacher and put a comment
Yeah, because we
too.
thought it'd
Yeah.
be really easy to like, oh, we'll just make a fake professor profile and then add in like our own comments and it didn't go so well. So yeah, that kind of answers the third one. Oh yeah, I guess we kind of did the fourth one too, how teacher rebuttals would affect your opinion of teachers at Chapman. So if you guys have anything else that you want to ask us or throw out there, you're more than welcome to. Cool.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Good job.